Have you ever walked into a room, striding with total purpose, and the second you cross the threshold,
You completely freeze?
yes, you just instantly forget why you're even in there? Or like maybe you're talking to a friend and a completely familiar word is just stuck right on the tip of your tongue?
Oh, it's universally maddening. I mean, we've all been there.
Right. And you can almost feel the shape of the word, but you just can't grab it.
Yeah, and it usually triggers this very specific internal reaction, doesn't it? Like, we might make a joke about getting older just to smooth over the awkwardness.
Exactly.
But underneath that joke, um, there's usually a tiny spike of genuine panic. Just this fleeting thought of, well, is this the beginning of a real decline?
Which is just such a heavy weight to carry around over, a misplaced pair of keys.
It really is.
But what if those moments aren't a sign that your brain is permanently broken? What if they're just a signal that your brain needs a completely different kind of workout?
That's exactly what we're looking at today.
Right, because today, our mission for this deep dive is to decode the actual physical mechanics of memory. We are going to discover how dedicating just 10 minutes a day can genuinely keep our minds sharp.
Yeah, sharp, resilient, and responsive. And to do this, we're pulling from some incredibly practical source material.
Yes, excerpts from a book called Daily Brain Exercises, 10-minute cognitive drills for sharp memory.
Right, by Dr. Bill Ray. He's a chiropractor who has spent like 40 years in holistic healthcare.
Wow, 40 years.
Yeah, and he's developed this really integrative approach that basically marries physical movement with targeted cognitive challenges.
And it's aimed specifically at preserving everyday memory function, right?
Exactly.
So for you listening right now, think of this deep dive as a shortcut to understanding your own brain. Like if you're navigating cognitive changes alongside a parent or partner.
Or even if you're just prepping for a really demanding phase of life at work.
Right, or if you're just intensely curious about how to optimize your mind, you are in the right place. We're going to map out actionable, low-stress tools today.
And we're going to do it without drowning you in clinical jargon, I promise.
But to get to those solutions, we first have to tear down this massive, culturally ingrained roadblock about how aging actually works.
Oh, absolutely. The whole, you can't teach an old dog new tricks myth.
Yes.
Because for decades, even the medical community largely operated on the assumption that an adult brain was essentially a fixed piece of hardware.
Right.
The belief was basically that once you reached a certain age, your brain stopped developing and just began this slow, inevitable process of degrading.
Kind of like a car engine, right? Like it just wears down the more miles you put on it.
Exactly like that. But neuroplasticity completely upends that mechanical view.
Okay, so let's get into neuroplasticity.
Yeah, because the brain is not a static engine. It's a living ecosystem.
Yeah.
It possesses this really remarkable ongoing ability to form new neural connections at literally any age.
Wait, any age?
Any age. It's constantly adapting and physically reshaping itself based entirely on how you use it.
Okay, let's unpack that mechanism a bit because reshaping itself sounds, I don't know, almost magical. What is physically happening in the brain when we learn something new?
So when you practice a skill or try to recall a piece of information, a specific pathway of neurons fires in your brain.
Okay.
And when that pathway fires repeatedly, the brain responds by reinforcing it. It actually thickens the myelin sheath.
The myelin sheath.
Yeah, which is essentially the insulation wrapping around those neural wires. A thicker myelin sheath means the electrical signal travels faster.
And more efficiently, I'm guessing.
Exactly.
It kind of makes me think of hacking a path through a really dense jungle.
Oh, I like that.
Like the very first time you walk it, you're swinging a machete, you're getting tangled in vines, and it takes forever.
Right.
But if you walk that exact same path every single day, eventually you trample down the weeds, the path gets wider, and soon you can just sprint right through it.
That's a perfect analogy. And, if you stop walking that path, the jungle goes back.
Oh, wow.
That is neuroplasticity in a nutshell. And that brings us to Dr. Ray's core protocol, which is the 10-minute rule.
Right, because he advocates for short, daily bursts of cognitive drills rather than like long, grueling sessions.
Yes.
Which feels a little counterintuitive if we use the physical fitness model, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if I want to build muscle, a 60-minute boot camp usually yields more results than a 10-minute jog.
Sure, that makes sense for the gym.
So why wouldn't I want to put my brain through a full hour of intense cognitive conditioning? Like, wouldn't that clear out those jungle paths even faster?
Well, it's because the muscle we're heavily relying on to do these exercises is attention. And attention is an extremely limited, easily depleted resource.
Oh.
So when you sit down for a 45-minute memory session, your brain starts strong. But by minute 20, fatigue sets in.
Yeah, when my mind wanders.
Right. The last half of that hour is often spent distracted, frustrated, and just cognitively worn out.
So you aren't building myelin anymore.
No, you're just practicing being frustrated, honestly.
So doing 10 minutes of highly focused, intentional lifting gives you a vastly better workout than wandering around the gym, scrolling on your phone, and picking up a dumbbell every now and then for an hour.
Exactly. Consistency beats intensity here. 5 or 10 minutes a day gives your brain a steady, cumulative signal that these neural pathways are important.
And they need to be maintained.
Right. You hit the sweet spot. It's long enough to genuinely engage the tissue, but short enough to protect your enthusiasm and prevent burnout.
But the kind of lifting we do in those 10 minutes matters immensely, right?
Absolutely.
Like if my goal is to improve my memory and I spend my 10 minutes just sitting on a couch rereading a list of Spanish vocabulary words,
Yeah.
does that count as clearing the jungle path?
No, not really. That falls under what the source identifies as passive review.
Okay, passive review.
Yeah, and passive review is comfortable. You look at the information, your brain recognizes it, and that gives you a false sense of security that you've learned it.
Oh, I've definitely fallen for that trap before.
We all do. But to actually trigger neuroplasticity, you need active retrieval.
Meaning I have to, like, close the book and try to summon the words from memory.
Yes. The effortful act of trying to remember something without a cue is the actual workout.
Even if it's hard.
Especially if it's hard. That friction, that momentary struggle where you have to dig for the answer,
Oh.
that is the mechanical trigger telling your brain to thicken the myelin.
So the struggle is quite literally the point.
Exactly.
Okay, so if we know we need active retrieval for 10 minutes a day, what exactly are we retrieving? I mean, memory isn't just one big bucket in our heads, right?
Not at all, no.
So we need to look at the specific systems that tend to falter first as we age.
Right, because memory operates as a highly specialized team of systems. The first one is short-term memory, which is really just a temporary holding space lasting mere seconds.
Okay, like what?
Like looking at a verification code on your phone and holding the 6 digits in your mind just long enough to type them into your laptop.
Ah, I see. It goes in, it gets used, and it gets immediately dumped.
Right. Then you have working memory. And working memory takes the info from short-term memory and actually manipulates it.
Like a mental scratch pad.
Exactly. It's doing mental math or holding a counter-argument in your head while actively listening to your friend finish their sentence.
Oh, that takes a lot of effort.
It does. And finally, long-term memory is the permanent library that stores your life events, deeply learned skills, facts.
And the brain delegates these tasks to different regions, right? I read that the prefrontal cortex, which is right behind the forehead, acts as the CEO for working memory and attention.
Yes, it's the manager. But the real star of the show when it comes to memory consolidation is the hippocampus.
The hippocampus.
Yeah, it's this tiny seahorse-shaped structure located deep within the brain. It's the primary gateway for forming new long-term memories.
In spatial memory, too, right?
Yes, how you navigate a physical environment. And crucially, the hippocampus is one of the very first areas affected by mild cognitive changes.
Which is why forming new memories suddenly becomes a bottleneck. Let's hover on that term for a second. Mild cognitive concerns versus normal aging. Because I bet a lot of people listening right now have probably misplaced their phone today.
Oh, definitely.
And they're wondering which category they fall into.
It's a really vital distinction to make. Normal aging means you occasionally misplace an object, or maybe you need to pause mid-sentence to find the right noun.
Like the tip of the tongue thing.
Right. It's inconsistent, and while it's annoying, it doesn't fundamentally derail your independence. Mild cognitive concerns are more pronounced.
Like what?
Like consistently losing track of a highly familiar recipe that you've cooked for 20 years. Or getting disoriented in a neighborhood you know really well.
Okay, that makes sense. The book points out something really reassuring about those tip-of-the-tongue moments in normal aging, though.
Oh, yeah.
Like, when you can't remember the name of an actor in a movie, the information isn't actually gone from the brain.
No, the physical pathway hasn't disappeared at all. To use an analogy, the book is still safely on the shelf in your permanent library. The librarian is just walking down the aisle a little slower than they used to.
So the retrieval speed has lagged, but the file isn't deleted. That's a huge release.
It is.
So if my mental librarian is moving at a slower pace, How do I speed them up?
Well, Dr. Ray suggests specific drills targeting that working memory CEO, the prefrontal cortex.
Okay.
One of the foundational exercises is the number chain. You start simply by having someone say a sequence of numbers like 729, and you repeat them back.
That sounds like basic short-term memory.
It is until you switch to the intermediate version. That's where I say a sequence of numbers, and you have to repeat them back to me in reverse order.
Oh, wow. Reverse order.
Yeah.
Because now I can't just passively parrot the sound back. I have to hold the numbers in my mental scratch pad, rearrange them spatially in my mind's eye, and then read them out loud backward.
Exactly. That forces the brain to manipulate data actively.
That sounds intense. What about speeding up verbal retrieval?
For verbal retrieval speed, the book recommends a category fluency race.
How does that work?
You pick a broad category, like fruits or modes of transportation, and you force yourself to name as many distinct items in that category as possible in 60 seconds.
Just a total brain dump.
Right. It forces your neural pathways to fire rapidly. It repeatedly demands that the librarian jog down the aisle instead of stroll. And over time, that clears out the buffering delays.
But what if we could make the librarian's job easier from the start?
What do you mean?
Well, if the problem is locating the file, is there a way to organize our memories so they're just easier to grab when we need them?
Oh, definitely. Dr. Ray's approach relies heavily on the fact that the brain rarely encodes memories in a vacuum.
Okay.
If you only try to remember a plain word, you give the librarian one tiny index card to look for.
Which is easy to lose.
Very. We need to attach that information to things the brain naturally prioritizes and processes with ease.
Like physical space, time, and the senses.
Exactly.
So let's start with space. Visual spatial memory is deeply tied to the hippocampus.
Right. It is. This is what allows you to know, without looking, roughly where the milk is sitting in your refrigerator.
Right. Our brains evolved to map our environments for survival. So connecting abstract information to physical spaces creates this massive structural support for a memory.
Spot on. And then we have the element of time, which essentially splits into episodic memory and prospective memory.
Okay, so episodic memory is your personal history, like what you had for dinner last night.
Right. And the book suggests a drill called yesterday reconstruction.
Oh, I like the sound of that.
Yeah, you just gently, methodically try to walk through the events of the previous day in chronological order.
That seems doable. But prospective memory seems completely different.
It is.
Because that's remembering to do something in the future, like taking a pill at 2 p.m. or remembering to grab the dry cleaning on the way home.
Yes, and the source notes that prospective memory is incredibly taxing.
Why is that? Like, why is it so much harder to remember to do something at 2 p.m. than it is to remember what I did at 9 a.m.?
Well, because episodic memory involves looking backward at something that actually happened to you. Prospective memory requires your brain to hold an unfulfilled intention in the background of your mind.
While you're actively focusing on other things.
Exactly. You have to recall the intention at an exact moment, usually without any external prompt or alarm. It requires a tremendous amount of cognitive overhead.
Wow. Which completely explains why I walk out the front door every Tuesday morning, look right at the full trash can, and still forget to drag it to the curb.
Right. Your brain is too busy processing your commute to trigger the future intention.
Okay, so space and time are two anchors. The third anchor is our physical senses, which brings up the famous Proust effect.
Yes, the phenomenon where a sudden scent, like a specific brand of sunscreen or wood smoke, instantly transports you back to a vivid childhood memory.
It's so powerful when that happens.
It really is. Scent and touch bypass the brain's higher conscious processing centers. They route directly into the emotional and memory centers, specifically the amygdala and the hippocampus.
And the book outlines drills to capitalize on this, right? Like the touch plus name drill.
Right, where you close your eyes and someone hands you a familiar household object, like a pine cone or a spoon or a set of keys.
And you just have to identify it entirely by its texture and weight.
Exactly. Or there's scent memory, where you smell coffee beans or a sprig of lavender while blindfolded, just to see what memories spontaneously surface.
So from a neurological standpoint, every time you attach a new sense to a piece of information, you're building a completely separate physical pathway to that memory.
Yes, that's exactly what's happening.
It's kind of like hanging a heavy mirror on drywall. Like, if you use just one nail, just reading a word on a page, that mirror is probably going to rip out of the wall and fall.
Probably, yeah.
But if you use multiple hooks, sight, sound, tactile, feel, and smell, that memory is locked into the wall securely.
Right. If the verbal nail slips, The scent hook still holds it up.
And this multisensory framework is the exact tool we need to tackle the two most universal memory complaints.
The ones that frustrate almost everyone.
Yes. Forgetting names and forgetting grocery lists.
Oh, yes.
But before we get to the strategies for those, the source insists we have to look at the brain's manager, the executive function.
We do. Because if your manager is distracted, no amount of multisensory hooks will help you.
Right. So what does the executive function actually do?
It handles the high-level orchestration of our behavior. It plans, it sorts information, and crucially, it inhibits impulses.
Impulse control.
Yeah, like if you're cooking dinner and you walk to the pantry for salt, but you notice a spilled box of cereal and immediately start sweeping the floor, completely abandoning the stove.
I do that all the time.
Well, that is a lapse in executive function. Your manager failed to inhibit the impulse to sweep.
So how do we train the manager?
The book provides the sort and switch drill. You take a mixed pile of buttons or coins, and you spend 1 minute sorting them rapidly by color.
Oh.
Then, mid-stride, you force yourself to abandon that rule and switch to sorting them by size.
Oh, that forces cognitive flexibility. You're demanding that your executive function abruptly stop one automated behavior and immediately apply a new set of rules.
Exactly. You can also practice impulse inhibition by playing a highly slowed-down version of Simon Says.
Simon Says.
Yeah, the delay between the command and the action forces you to consciously hold back an automatic physical response.
Okay, so if we have our executive function filtering out distractions, why is it still so painfully difficult to remember someone's name?
That's a great question.
I genuinely want to know the mechanics of this.
Yeah.
Why can I walk out of a 2-hour movie and flawlessly recount a deeply complex plot with multiple characters, but when someone introduces themselves to me at a party, their name just evaporates from my brain in 5 seconds?
It's because a movie plot has a logical, causal narrative. The events are connected by reason and emotion, which gives the hippocampus a rich tapestry to hold on to.
Okay.
A name, structurally speaking, is completely arbitrary data. The sound Dave has absolutely no logical built-in connection to the shape of Dave's face, his personality, or his career.
That's so true.
Because it's abstract and lacks context, the brain has no natural hooks for it.
It just slides right off the drywall.
Yep. So we have to artificially manufacture the hooks.
And Dr. Ray outlines a specific name strategy for this, right?
He does. Step 1 is scanning the person's face or presence for a distinctive feature. Let's say you meet Rosa, and she happens to be wearing a bright rose-colored scarf.
Okay, Rosa with the rose scarf.
Right. Step 2 is building an association story that locks the feature to the name. You're creating a narrative where none existed.
And does this strategy scale to numbers and lists?
It does. For numbers, our brains rely on chunking. This is why a 10-digit phone number is broken into 3 smaller groups.
Oh, because our working memory can juggle 3 items comfortably, but 10 separate digits will overwhelm the system.
Exactly. For a list of disparate items, however, the strategy is visualization.
Yes, the grocery list visualization drill in the book is wild.
It really is.
Like, let's say you need to buy milk, bread, bananas, and butter. Instead of just repeating the words over and over, the source instructs you to picture a giant banana.
Right.
The banana is wearing a milk carton for a hat. It is balancing on a massive slice of bread like a surfboard, and it's wielding a stick of butter like a sword.
I love that image.
Wait, I have to push back on this a little.
Okay, go for it.
Isn't inventing a bizarre, cartoonish narrative just to remember 4 basic grocery items vastly more exhausting for my brain than just writing it down?
I mean, it sounds like more work consciously.
Doesn't that defeat the purpose of a low-stress drill?
Well, neurologically, it is exactly what the hippocampus craves.
Really?
Yeah. The human brain evolved to remember the unusual, the dangerous, and the vivid. A plain list of black text on white paper is profoundly boring, abstract data.
Boring. Okay.
But a giant swashbuckling banana is highly novel. By creating that ridiculous image, you are taking abstract data and translating it into a rich, visual, spatial story.
So you're giving the brain the exact format it prefers to store. That makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
The weirder it is, the stickier it is.
Yep.
But here is where Dr. Ray's protocol takes a really hard left turn from traditional cognitive therapy.
Right, the movement aspect.
He is absolutely adamant that doing these mental drills while sitting rigidly at a desk is missing the entire point.
Movement is the secret ingredient woven throughout the entire book. Every single cognitive drill is paired with a physical movement component.
Like what?
Like if you're doing the number chain, you're simultaneously doing seated marches. If you're doing sort and switch with the buttons, you're reaching across your body's midline to place them in cups.
I assume this isn't just about getting your daily step count in, right?
Yeah.
Is the physical movement actually changing the brain's internal environment?
It is changing it chemically and psychologically. On a chemical level, even gentle rhythmic movement increases heart rate. That drives oxygen-rich blood directly to the brain tissue, which immediately heightens alertness.
Oh, that makes sense.
But psychologically, adding movement completely removes the test anxiety that tends to artificially lower cognitive performance, especially in older adults.
Oh, because if I'm just sitting in a quiet room while you fire math problems at me, it feels like a sterile medical exam, like I'm going to tense up.
Exactly.
But if we're tossing a ball back and forth while naming categories of fruit, it just feels like a game.
You're engaged in an activity, not being quizzed on your deficits. The anxiety drops, cortisol drops, and the brain's retrieval systems can actually function freely.
Which means the ultimate goal isn't to block out 10 minutes of your day to go to some specialized brain gym.
No, not at all.
The goal is to turn your everyday life into the gym, using the chores and habits you already have.
Right. Invisible practice is the most sustainable practice. You can train executive function and visual spatial memory simply by sorting complex laundry.
Or you can practice procedural memory by forcing yourself to recall and recite the sequential steps of a recipe out loud before you even turn on the stove.
Exactly. The day itself provides the resistance training.
And obviously, all of this rests on a foundation of basic physiological maintenance.
Right. We can't forget the basics.
The text touches on the non-negotiables: staying hydrated, managing chronic stress, and prioritizing sleep.
Sleep is huge. That's when the brain actually consolidates those memories. It's essentially filing away the day's practice and reinforcing the myelin we talked about earlier.
And if you're navigating this journey alongside a parent, a partner, or a patient, the mindset outlined in the source is absolutely critical.
Consistency and patience are everything here.
If the person you're supporting gets frustrated or tired during a drill, you just immediately stop, right?
You stop and you celebrate the small wins. There is no biological benchmark they have to meet today, which means there is no such thing as falling behind.
It really is a marathon of maintenance, not a sprint. 10 minutes a day. Prioritizing consistency over perfection. Choosing active retrieval over passive reading.
And building absurd multisensory hooks for your memory.
While keeping your body in motion while you do it.
It is an incredibly empowering framework because it takes the mystery and, honestly, a significant amount of the fear out of cognitive aging.
We have covered a lot of neurological ground today, from the prefrontal cortex all the way down to the myelin sheath. But as we wrap up, we want to leave you, the listener, with a final, slightly challenging thought to mull over.
Yeah.
We talked heavily about the reality of neuroplasticity, the fact that your brain is actively, physically rewiring itself every single day based entirely on how you use it.
It is a continuous, relentless process that never turns off.
So ask yourself this: what is your current daily routine passively training your brain to do right now? If you spend hours rapidly switching between tabs, doom scrolling, and half watching television while checking your phone, are your habits physically training your brain to be highly distractible?
That's a great question.
What neural paths are you clearing in the jungle today? Because whatever you're doing, your brain is dutifully building the infrastructure for it.
Right.
So the next time you walk into a room and forget why you went in there, maybe take a deep breath, look around, and realize your brain isn't broken. It's just waiting for you to give it the right kind of workout.